Boom! Welcome to Second Chance Live series. I got my boy John Guydon. He is a TEDx speaker. He is a business coach. He is a wannabe Darryll entrepreneur. Dang, just kidding. I'm just messing with him, man. All right, true thoughts. You guys haven't heard the podcast yet. I had him on my podcast, but I met John at a TEDx event where I recorded my TEDx, which has more views than his, just so you know, if you haven't checked the ratings yet. But I will say this. There was a couple of people. There was probably two people who I said, okay, they probably did a better job than me. Like they if I was really being honest, they did a better job. John Guydon was one of those people, and here's how it happened. I opened up the event, and everybody applauded. I mean, I feel like if they could have given me a standing ovation, they would have done it. You know, the crowd was right. They were like, yeah, that was awesome. That was amazing. I got high fives coming off stage, and then John goes. And completely crushes it. So you guys got to go check out his TEDx talk. But right now, I want to encourage you to host a watch party if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on one of the other streaming platforms, share with your friends, the people you care about. We're going to be talking about business. We're going to talk about mindset, achievement. Whatever comes out of this guy's mouth today is going to be gold for you to move your life forward. He is a man of results. It's one of the things that I noticed about him. When we went out to eat after our TEDx talk, he was literally trying to help everybody move forward. Like he just couldn't help it. Like it's just how he thinks. And so he's going to help you move forward today. And so go ahead and share that watch party or share on social media and then host that watch party. And guys, we are about to get into this. All right. So I'm going to read his bio and then I'll stop talking because you guys are probably tired of hearing from me and you want to hear about him. John Guydon is an author, TEDx speaker who teaches entrepreneurs, business professionals, and creatives how to master the art of crushing their goals no matter what odds they face. John, holla at your boy.
Oh, man. First of all, I just want to point out the fact that I probably didn't choose my location very well today. It was overcast and perfect and feeling fantastic. And then the clouds burned off right when we started. You'll notice the light difference here. And boy, oh boy, I got a little something just in case I need it. But yeah. Anyways, man, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be chatting with you, my guy.
Man, we're happy to have you. Talk to us about mastering the art. I see like it's an acronym for something.
It is an acronym for something. So the word master, if you can figure these 6 things out, you're going to be just fine, right? So the M is for mindset. Now that encompasses your perspective, right? Which is how you see what you're looking at. You ever had 2 people look at the same thing and see 2 different things? That's perspective. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And it's also negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, it ranges from a little bit of doubt to downright disrespect. And it's that voice that we have in our own heads about us and the narratives we tell ourselves, the narratives we prove, we tell ourselves in this life we live with all the things that we're trying to do and understanding what that means and how to navigate that. That's the M for mindset. The A in master is for action. So it's great to think big. That's great. Let's think big. Think big. Have big ambitions. That's fantastic. But you got to act small. Mm-hmm. You got to act small. So it's all the little things. People have this misconceived notion, right? That it's you gotta, moving mountains is what it means. No, it's chipping away one little bit at a time. It's all of these things. It's all the little things and the discipline around those little things are what's gonna keep you there. The S is for strategy. It's for strategy. If you don't plan the day, the day's planning you. If you're not specific with your aims, you'll miss every time. You'll miss every time. So strategy is very important. The T, one of the most important we talk about is time. Time. And the facts are that you'll make time for the things that are important to you.
I know that's right.
You'll make time for things that are important to you. The fact is that most people think that they are good multitaskers. They think, oh no, I'm different. I can kind of balance this and that together, and we'll figure this out. It's not true. It's not true. We're bouncing from one thing to another. We're juggling, and most people suck at juggling. And so once we realize this time, this resource that we've got, and we start respecting our time more than we respect our money, then then your results start to show. The T is for time. The E, oh, that's a big one. They're all big, but E is for environment. And the rule here is your environment must support your goals. And if your environment doesn't support your goals, you need a new environment. I may relocate before the end of this life. I may pick up my computer and relocate because the environment may not be supporting my goals. Right? My goal is to have a nice, comfortable interview, right? And a little live session, help the people out. But my goal is not to be sweating crazy. So if that starts, that's an example. But if you look at your environment, think about your environment in 4 tires to a car, right? 4 tires to a car. And each tire has to be inflated the right way in order for you to get where you're going. 1 tire is people. It's the people you spend your time with, or the people that you're investing your time with. The other tire is places, right? That's where you live, that's where you work, that's where you do everything. The other tire is mind. This is the books you read, the TV you watch, the podcasts you listen to, the people you follow. What are you letting into your mind? And then the other tire is body. That's sleep. That's your physical activity. That's all of those things. It's all connected. If you got a flat tire, you got to fix that. That's environment. Your environment must support your goals. So that's E. And then the R is for resourcefulness. It is the shift between I can't to how can I. It's working with what you have. It's now I feel old now, but MacGyver, right? So MacGyver, he'd take like a piece of gum and some copper wire and some other things, and he'd do that, and all of a sudden he'd make a bomb out of that and get out of the thing and save the day. That's the mindset that you must have. I'm going to do with what I have. I'm going to take the things that I have, inventory with what I've got. I'm going to do it. So a small example would be somebody to say, I can't afford that. I can't afford that. That's not being resourceful. That's a limiting statement. Instead, you say, how can I afford that? You see the difference? Like just that shift, saying, how can I afford that? That is a powerful question, which then get you to powerful answers. You start to say, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And it all works, period. That's how it happens. So anyways, that is M.A.S.T.E.R. That's the acronym. That's what it stands for. And that's really the basis for a lot of the things that I teach.
I love it, man. Tell me, like, man, as a person who has built a successful speaking career, what would you say to those athletes out there, or just those people that are wanting to build a successful speaking career? What would your advice to them be?
Okay, first of all, can you hear me? Am I still good? I think I was frozen.
Oh, were you? I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me.
Your face is frozen.
My face is frozen, looking real sun in the face. Man, I'm gonna take this opportunity to move myself while I'm frozen. But you can hear me okay.
I can hear you just fine.
Great.
If you can hear John, drop something in the comments so we can make sure that you can hear him, because we don't want you to miss out. And while we're at it, I'm going to answer my little mini commercial. If you have any questions throughout this time, drop them in the chat. Our team will collect them and make sure that you are able to field your questions. So it looks like they can still hear you.
Okay, perfect. So your question was, what advice would I give somebody who wants to launch a speaking career?
Yes.
Speak.
Oh man, that's why you're gonna get along with my guy David, man. That's the same thing David would say. I asked David a question about sales, and he was like, practice. And I was like, there's got to be something else besides practicing, like that's essentially what you're saying, right? So when you speak, you start to speak more often, and I think we lost John because he's super frozen now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Look. Okay. Well, you're back, man. So I don't know why you're frozen like that. Let me see what happens if I do this.
Oh, how about if I stop my cam and restart it? Let me do that. Boom. Stop my cam. Start my cam back. Nope.
Nope.
Wow.
What about that? Hold on. What'd you do to your camera?
It's there. It's there.
It looked like the rapture took you, man.
Well, I don't know what happened.
They can look at me.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Let's see, Cam and Mike. I'm good to go. It says I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm don't know what I can do there. Maybe here. Should I try to refresh? I don't want to mess nothing up, but should I try to refresh?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Leave
I'm gonna,
out, and then I'll talk them through a funny story,
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right
and
back.
then boom. So while John's going on, let me tell you about something that happened. So we go out to eat after the TEDx event, right? And it's a couple of the TEDx speakers, it's one of his videographers, and we're all sitting down at like Applebee's or something like that. He's back. And we sit down and we start talking to one of the speakers. I'm not going to steal whose name is out there. And and it's about now keep in mind, we all just met each other. We haven't really had time to kick it or anything. We just like really getting to know each other over this dinner. And he just left again. And we're talking to one of the speakers. And he's talking about like, oh man, one day I'm gonna write a book or whatever. And John's like, write it now. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, dude, you already have the book. You just take your content from your speech, you throw it in the book, you get somebody to edit it, and then you go out there and you sell a bunch of copies, right? And it was clear like Buddy was not ready to write a book, but John is just like, he cannot understand the excuse thing, right? And so he's like, all right, man, when you really want to write a book, when you really want to write a book, you'll write a book. Like at the end of the day,
Wow,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So now it looks like your whole screen is in the middle of the sun. But yeah, walk us through, man. Walk us through. There we go. There we go.
Are we okay?
There we go. Yeah. Now you don't look like you from the equator.
Okay. Okay. So I know. Yeah, I was really that sun will just change things up for you, period. So okay, so we're talking about speaking.
Yeah.
And the advice that I gave was to speak. And what I mean by that too is like if you want to make it in life, you have to transact, right? You've got to do the things. But if you want to thrive, you have to transact powerfully. And part of that is literally just kind of getting out and doing your thing. Now, let me be specific here. When you're speaking, if you want to start a speaking business, your signature talk is the product, right? So if speaking is the product, how can you best develop your product? Is it to like just think about it? Is it to stress about it? Is it to just try to? No, it's to speak and do it again and again and again. Now, I was speaking because I have a course called Crush the Talk, and we help speakers create a signature talk so good that people will pay you for it. And so I asked this room full of speakers. I said, how many of you have honestly done a signature talk, recorded it, and sat down and watched the entire thing? No one raised their hands. So this is your product. It's like saying that's the equivalent of you having a hamburger joint, but you ain't never tasted your own hamburger. Like, did you imagine that? Like, you're in a restaurant, you're like, yeah, this is our hamburger. It's such and such. Like, what does it taste like? Oh, like, some people say it's good. Like, really? You don't taste your own product? So anyway, so it's about getting better. But then you have to display that. So if you really want to be a speaker, I'm gonna ask you where your speaking reel is. Mm-hmm. And once I see your speaking reel, then I'm gonna ask you, okay, well, what kind of speaker do you want to be? What kind of fees do you want to get? Well, what kind of arrangements do you want to have? And then I'm gonna watch your reel, and I'm gonna see if your reel supports the things that you said you wanted. Mm-hmm. And if your reel supports the things you said you wanted, then we've got something. But if they don't, well, then let's start there. Let's make sure you have a product to sell, and let's make sure we know exactly who we're selling it to and what the terms are and all that, and we go from there. But it does start that way.
And that's so good, man. Part of the work we do is help athletes transition to business. And I know that's something that you've got experience in helping entrepreneurs grow businesses, scale businesses. There's a lot of people right now trying to start businesses, grow businesses, figure out how to sell online. Man, give us your best business advice.
Oh, that's so broad. Start. Okay, business. Okay, business advice. Yes. Okay, cool. Be specific. Be specific. Be consistent. Be disciplined. Be authentic. Right. There's so many different ways to make money. Right. So let's let's start there. There are so many different ways to make money. A lot. We couldn't even count the ways to make money. We could literally talk for an hour, list out the ways to make money, speed read it, and we'd still be short thousands and thousands of ways. So let's accept that as a fact. There's tons of ways to make money. So then how should you make money? How should you transact in the world? How should you be in business? Well, first of all, be specific. What specifically do you want to do? Be specific about who you want to serve. Be specific about the scenario, the use case, all right? What's their before state? What's their after state? You do that, and you've got half a chance to make it in this thing. Business in itself is hard enough. If you're just, I'm everything to everybody, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. People forget. Amazon sells everything, but what do they start out selling?
Books.
Everybody knows that. And it's funny too, because we all know that, but then we think that we're special, right? We know that. We think we're special. We're like, no, but for me, I'm gonna everything. Oh, okay, got it. So you're gonna got it, and maybe you are, right? But playing the odds here, be specific, be authentic. So there's a movie called The Matrix. Most people have watched the Matrix. If you haven't, no, you can't pause. This is live. So watch The Matrix. Homework. So the context. But here's the interesting part about The Matrix. There's a guy in The Matrix called the Architect, and so the Architect he was the one who actually built the world, the Matrix, and he had failed a ton of times, tons and tons of times. I can't remember exactly how many times he failed, but it was a lot. And he finally met, I think it's Neo, and he said, "You know why the versions kept failing over and over again?" He goes, "Why?" He says, "They were too perfect. They were too perfect." So we as humans, we don't accept perfection. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. But in business and online, special social media, everybody's got this, this perception of perfection. And it's really messing folks up because then they believe that is normal. So they look at that and go, I don't look like that. I don't act like, so that's
right.
On my Instagram, any kind of way. I'm getting them with a workout, sweating, look like, I'm like, I'm gonna show you this real. I'm gonna show you what's up. Because people don't. So I would say just be authentic, be specific. Don't keep asking me, how can you, right? So a lot of people will say, well, with COVID right now, I can't. Stop. COVID right now, how can I? Well, with this going on, it's really hard to get investors and I need investment. Oh, you need investment. You need investment. You can't do business without an investor. Do you know how many people actually get like VC fund? I'm sick of hearing these excuses about what somebody needs in order for them to do business. I'll say it on live right now. I've decided to start a TV network, kind of like Netflix, but my own thing. I'll announce it soon. And I asked a powerful question. How do I start this thing without raising a whole bunch of money? I mean, because typically if you want to you got to raise a bunch of money. How do I start this thing without raising a bunch of money, but still do it powerfully and have a significant amount of subscribers? And I'll be darned, I came up with an answer. I asked a powerful question. I got a powerful answer. So, yeah.
Ask a powerful question and you get a powerful answer. That is phenomenal. I think people don't know what to ask sometimes, especially when you're new to a thing. So, that question sometimes is hard to figure out, like, man, what's a better question I can ask? I remember when I first started getting coached in business, I was just asking like dumb stuff. My coach was like your answer, right? Practice. Like, how do you get better? Like, it was all how questions, right? And I would say, like, I had to elevate and go, why, right? Why did you ask that question? So let me ask you that. Why did you decide to come up with a way to start your own network without raising a bunch of capital? Why did you not just go with raising a bunch of capital?
Well, that's because of my goals, my aims, right? So it is my aim to be in full control of the outcomes and be fully responsible for the outcomes of my life. I believe in radical self-accountability, which has a distinction between fault and responsibility. So I want to be very clear. If something bad happens to me, it's not necessarily my fault, unless it was me doing something stupid. Like when I was a kid and I had a tree trunk thing and I was hitting it against another tree and it bounced off the tree, hitting me in the forehead. That's my fault, right? But aside from that, just because something bad happens or unfair circumstances knock you down, that's not your fault. but it is your responsibility
Right.
to assess what's going on, to rebound, and to make a life for yourself. That's always your responsibility. The minute you give up your responsibility, you give up your power. Don't give away your power, right? Keep that. So the reason I asked that question is because if I were to make me starting a network contingent upon me being able to raise this money, then I would have had to go a level lower to say, okay, how do I then raise this type of money? I've never raised for a network before. Is there an appetite for that? Are people interested in that? And so I figured if there was a way to do it, I'd want a way that I can completely control my actions, completely control and dictate the outcomes. So I can go straight to the market. Is this something that you want? Test it for market viability as opposed to making that somebody else's decision. Additionally, there's a practical reason too, and the practical reason is incentive. So if you're an investor and you give me $10 million to start a network, you are not interested in that being a lifestyle business that's making $15-20 million. You're not interested in that. If you're an investor like an VC, you give me $10 million, you want 100 back minimum. You want me to go big. You want me to go public and do all this. So our incentives aren't aligned. So for me, I'm good with that. They might not be good with that. So it does a better job of keeping that aligned when you do it that way. Not that that's the only way, because I've raised money before. I've raised money multiple times. I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs create pitches to raise money and do all that. I'm not saying that there's anything bad. Just, when you talk about your specific goals, you gotta map it.
I love it, man. I love it. And I was gonna tell myself I'm not gonna do that. This is not the time to everybody like, what? Now you gotta say it. What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower, I think, is helping people transform their perspective, helping people create better outcomes for themselves by helping them to change their mindset. I don't know. What would you say my superpower is? Storytelling,
being direct. Seriously, I mean, I think doing it in a way that I don't know, man. Most people who I know that are direct, they're jerks, right? Like it comes off as like arrogance and better than, and it's very patronizing. But I think with you, you're able to be direct, but yet do it in a way that has that person's best interest in mind, right? Like when you were having all the streaming issues, I told the story about the dinner, and it was like, I remember telling my wife about that, and I was like, man, he was in his stuff. Like he was not about to let that man not write this book, but at the same time it was like, but you were really trying to help him break through, right? You were really trying to help him like not put off, because how many people put off stuff for like years because of all these barriers that we create in our minds. I mean, like the network, right? You could easily say, well, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when I get more money, when I get a bigger platform, when I get this, when I meet these people, when I'm closer with the people that I already have. But instead, it's like, no, I'm making a decision to do this, and now I'm going to figure out how to get it done. And so I would say like that art of being blunt, but also doing it in love is definitely your superpower, in my opinion.
Thanks. Thank you. I think I thought of another one too, which is storytelling.
Yeah.
And we just finished a movie script and working to get that out now, and it's kind of an eye-opening situation when you think about that. But yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah. Talk about the documentary that you made.
Okay, so I started a project called The Dark Dollar, and I decided to investigate the intersection between race and wealth in America. And so I went around the country interviewing people from all walks of life, from people who run welfare programs to people who have small businesses and just people on the street, and asking them a question, what's the biggest problem facing Black America? Right? The reason I started the doc, the reason I did the doc in the first place is because when you look at a bunch of different indicators, financial indicators, Blacks in the U.S. are not scoring well at all as a whole. You talk about specific subsets They are.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was the part that was massively intriguing to me. So one example would be if you looked at earning by race, which is a lazy indicator, but just by race, then it's like, oh man, blacks are doing horrible. But if you then say, okay, let's talk about married couples by race, then all of a sudden the numbers are drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time where somebody told me, hey, John, you have I forget the numbers exactly, but you got a 30% higher chance of going to prison. I'm like, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
Me? Like actually John got like me. He said, yeah. I said, why? He said, because you're black. I thought to myself, that literally it doesn't make sense to me, right? Especially because I had been pulled over 3 times in the past couple of years where I live, deserve 3 tickets, have 0 tickets, right? And so, and I'm every bit of a big black, big scary black man kind of thing, right? So it doesn't add up, right? Like the evidence doesn't support the claim. So I started the Doc Dollar to be able to answer the question and say, okay, what when you look up below the surface, like what is it? And there's these other things, and it's turned into this. Some of it's social, some of it's some of it is some cultural things, but money. There was this undercurrent of money. When you look at it from an economic perspective, things start to look drastically different. I hired a researcher and I said, find every black stat, like, oh, black this, black that. Find all the race statistics and change out race and let's talk about money. So let's start with the prison thing for a second. And we can go on and on. We can talk about all this. So I found out a couple of different things that made sense. Because I said, okay, so if that doesn't make sense to me, what does make sense? And so I found this statistic that most people don't know about. It's called pre-incarceration income. It's how much money you make before you go to prison. It turns out that is a much stronger indicator of your likelihood to go to prison than it is the color of your skin. It's like, what? Right? And another thing was for men, all men, not black men, not white men, just all men. Little trivia. What do you think? There was one thing that 90% of men in prison had in common. What do you think that one thing was?
Fatherlessness.
There you go. There you go. Boom.
Proud of myself, baby. Where my bill at? Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I want to help folks, right? The reason I started the Dark Dollar is the same reason, I want to empower folks. I want somebody that is looking at their situation going, I'm being held back. I got these shackles on me, and it's all here. There's no physical shackles, but they're here. Like I can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. I want to slap some sense into them and say, yes, you can. And not only can you, let me show you how you can do so powerfully. I've been mentoring entrepreneurs for years, and so I mentor. I've been through power moves and all this stuff. So I'm mentoring these entrepreneurs, all black entrepreneurs, and there were 3 black women, and they began to tell me about how difficult it is to raise money as a black woman. And so I said, okay, let's talk about this. And some of y'all probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, can't believe you said that. But we're just gonna can we keep it real today? Okay,
let's go.
So
you know how I am.
So they're like, all right, I can't raise money because of this, can't raise money because of that, because we're black. And as you can see, less than 3% of funding comes from this. And I said, let me tell you what I think. And all 3 of them pointed and said, you can't get funding because you don't have a product yet. You can't get funding because you don't have any traction. And you can't get funding because you're not easy to get along with. And I said,
such a try.
That it sounded like a jerk, right? Like, well, I was just like, and then look, this is a line that it was like in the room kind of conversation. So I don't know why I'm saying a lot, but I'm like, you haven't even like made it to discrimination yet. Like you ain't even at that level. That's like this level. You know what I mean? Like, okay, put another way. Here's what I'm saying. 'Cause I don't want anybody to misconstrue me on live. Like, no, this is what he said. Here's what I'm saying. I will never say that that the racism doesn't exist. Of course, it's always going to exist. We all have our prejudices. It's all going to be a thing, always. Here's what I am saying though, is on the list of things that keep money out of your pocket, racism is not even top 10 on your list. There's all these things that you can have together, and I can tell you story after story after story after story. This is from real life experience. I mean, I know a guy, good friend of mine, who has a company, just acquired some folks, multi-million-dollar company. He went to prison. He went to prison for a legitimate crime, moving lots of marijuana. Now, if he would have waited a few years and did it in Colorado, he'd be Entrepreneur of the Year, but he didn't. It was illegal at the time, so he went to prison. Right?
Should have waited.
Should have waited a little bit. Another marketplace lesson is in timing.
Yeah.
So he goes to prison. In prison, he realizes there's a tremendous opportunity when it comes to communication between prisoners and the outside world. And so he created his company, Pigeon Lee, and he couldn't get funding. What anybody trying to invest in him, right? And so did he have an opportunity to check boxes and have a valid excuse? Sure. Nobody would have said anything to him. I'm a convicted felon, black, da. Okay, you're not gonna raise money. He, instead of doing that, he got busy and he said, okay, well, do they respect revenue? So he went and got himself some revenue, traction. Guess what conditions fell away? All the top accelerators in the world. He ended up going through Y Combinator and all this type of stuff. Raised millions of dollars, acquired another business, multi-million-dollar business, very successful, speaks all over the world. Nobody's talking about the fact that they used his incarceration. That is part of his story.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have people like that are making it, it's a hard sell for me. It's a hard sell for me as to why you can't make it solely because of the color of your skin. So the dark dollar is looking at the most common issues, racial issues of today's time, with a economic lens, from an economic perspective.
I love it. Let's connect it to this topic because I think it's so relevant when you think about the pressure that sometimes athletes put on themselves to be successful in sports because they come from low income communities. And I know from the neighborhood I grew up, it was like an unspoken belief that the only way for you to get out of Jackson was to be an athlete or a rapper. So everybody's athletes or rappers, right? Or a drug dealer. But if you were trying to do it legitimately, that was your two ways to make it. And so I know that because I've heard part of your story, I think we talked about this personally, that there was a time where you were thinking about how you were going to attract more money and whether it was going to be continue like this career in sports or to make money in business, and you chose the business route. Just talk about that whole landscape of the pressure that exists, and then how can people unlock that mindset to be able to do what you've been able to do in your life.
All right. So first of all, let me just kind of throw this out there. Like, I get it. You come from the, you know what I'm saying? If you come from the hood or you come from a spot, you're playing sports, you're receiving lots of praise and a lot of value from you playing sports. And so becomes your identity in a lot of ways. And so you've got some confidence that you're building in that space, right? Then you get a scholarship to go play D1 ball, go play somewhere. And what do the community tell you? It's for them, they really want to encourage you, but they're putting this undue pressure. They say, we're so proud of you. We know you're going to go do amazing things. Go make us proud. Go put us on the map. Go, can't wait. Oh, you're going to buy grandmama a house and such and this and that. So here you go, coming to college with an 800-pound sack on your back, right? Thinking about all of these different things, carrying these things with you. And it switches from a motivation to a handicap. And that changes the moment that you're no longer ascending up that mountain, the athletic one at least. And so there's this really dark place where you've been climbing up this athletic mountain, doing well. People see you climbing. It's all good. You've been carrying an 800-pound sack the whole time. You can't shed it. It's yours. And then that mountain is just too steep. And you're done playing ball. Whether you get injured, whether you're only top 5% of athletes, but you're not top 1% of athletes. Like, you're talking about some high level stuff here. And it's crazy too, because it's a society where you're made to feel like a failure. You could be in the top 5% of something and you feel like a failure still, right? And then you kind of wonder, well, what the heck do I do next? What's next? And the realization that I had, and the realization that I want to make sure, and I'll talk about it next week too, is I want athletes to understand this. You have a very valuable toolbox of skills that you could take into anything you do, right? your grit, your determination, your ability to have stick-to-itiveness, your coachability is through the roof. Unreal. The normal world has no idea how to be coached like an athlete knows how to be coached. Normal people have no idea what it means to actually be disciplined and do the same thing over and over and over again to get better at those things, right? Repetition in the whole nine. You could take those same skills, the insane work ethic, right? Take those same exact skills, the ability to get your butt kicked and get back up, the ability to have days where you're like, every athletes have had this day where it's like, I don't know if I can do that tomorrow. You know, like I mean, for me going to camp, I don't know. I'll tell you my story, man. It was rough. My first day getting to Colorado, it was rough. It was not a warm welcome. I'll tell you that much. You know, where it had me question. I'm like, is this for me? You know. So, but everybody has that, right? So, but the minute you realize there's that shift, the game changes, and you realize how much you can possibly do. So, you know, there's you know, what's great about this country is there's amazing opportunities for you to do. I mean, plumbers making six figures. There's folks learning trading, I mean, there's amazing. There's one guy who learned how to paper trade in Chicago. And when you get good enough with fake money, they give you real money, $50,000 to trade on somebody else's money. Now he's wealthy as I don't know what. There's so many different opportunities and avenues. Just give yourself a little bit of time to figure out what you're interested in outside of sports. There's also the ecosystem of sports as well, right? Whether you want to be around somewhere else. I've got athletes that they became lawyers and they said, okay, I'm going to represent athletes and stuff. There's so many different things. Just give yourself a breather for a second and recognize that from an intangible perspective, you'll always be in the top 5% of people with the intangible skill sets that you have. And so it is transferable. I promise. It is the truth. And if you give that potential life, it will help you out and it'll prove you right.
There is like an ego piece though, and this is kind of what I'll end with before we let people know how they can connect with you. Is like, yeah, you know that you can be great at something else because you have the mindset, the discipline, the soft skills, but yet like the reality is like you're starting from scratch a lot of the times for people, right? So my question like for you is, you know, were you already working on your business and your coaching before you transitioned out of sports, or were you just able to pivot rapidly fast? And how did you deal with the ego piece?
I pivoted rapidly fast. I wasn't working on this when I was in school. Like, no, I was always speaking and whatever, but I wasn't working on a business after school. So your first question is did I work on this during college or did I just pivot fast? I pivoted for sure. And it's leaders do a horrible job of reminding us how much we sucked when we first started something. And when you're a high level athlete, you forget how, you forget like, okay, we weren't always that cold. Maybe some people were like, oh, I was always that good. Right. I was always that good. But there's a difference between talent and skill. So understand that in the other world, non-sports world, give time for that. Understand if you put the work there, you will become a master at that. You can suck at something today and be good at it next week and be really good at it the following week and be, among the best over time, over a period of time. So and then ego piece. Okay, gosh. One of the phrases are, man, what I look like being a plumber or what or what I look like working for so-and-so. So people have this we as athletes oftentimes have this notion that the world is looking at us and is going to be disappointed, maybe even disgusted to see that we're working some regular job or we're doing some other thing, and it not has anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with sports. It's only in our heads. It's not true. You're not that special. You don't have this crew of people waiting to hate on you. You're doing regular things. You know what I'm saying? You're still cool. You're still awesome. So I just had to push through it. And I went into insurance right after college. Insurance. Ain't nothing cool or sexy about commercial insurance. But I'll tell you what, those paychecks started to get real cool. So, you know what I'm saying? And so people start to go, oh, lifestyle, man. You're playing for lifestyle now. That's the game now, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want that life to be? What's your aim? What mark do you want to make on the world and stuff like that. So, there's a longer conversation, but at the end of the day, it's just trust and have faith that it's just like following a game plan. Sometimes you don't know, like, well, should we run that play? Are you sure we should run that play? There's all these plays we can run, but should we run that play? Well, you have a coach. That coach gives you the game plan. You believe in that coach. The coach gives you the play, and you run it. You run it to the best of your ability, and you see what happens. So two things either happen. Either the play is successful, and you learn from that, or the play is unsuccessful, and you learn from that. Life is no different. You're going to run a play. Some are going to be successful. Some are not going to be successful. You learn from both, and then you run the next play and the next play and the next play. I just want to help you master your next play. You see how I threw that in there? You see how
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. That's how we do it right there. Speaking of master your next play, man, if somebody's listening to this, watching the replay, and they're like, man, that guy, I got to connect with him. I want to learn from him. I want to buy what he's selling. I want to hire him at my event. How can they get in touch with you?
John, everything starts at johnguydon.com, JOHNGUYDON.com. I am John Guydon on everywhere social. I'm most active on Instagram, but really it's just go to my website. There's a contact us form there if you want to connect in that way. And wherever I can help, however I can help, I'm happy to do so. If for those of you who are speakers, you're entrepreneurs, you're speakers, and you want that signature talk and you need help, that is crushthetalk.com. You can go there. It's Crush the Talk, and Crush is an acronym too. I love acronyms, but that's what
acronyms for everything, man. I got to work on my acronym game, man. I was talking to a couple of other dudes that were speakers, and they all got 75 acronyms. I'm like the only one. They only got like 2 acronyms. I need to step it up.
Framework. You just need a powerful one. That's all.
I know. Yeah, I need an acronym for my process. I keep saying 5-step process. Anyways, so go ahead, head over there and man, check out his website, connect with him. Man, I appreciate your time today. I want to invite everyone to my launch party tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'll be streaming all day, so it's like I forget that the official party starts 6 p.m. And the book is available on Amazon right now for you to purchase. You can go over to secondchanceathletes.com, click book, and it'll take you there. And I think they got bonuses listed or something like that. I don't know. Go read the page. I'm doing a bad job selling it right now, but I've been talking about this so much, and y'all should already have the book. If you've been following live, you should already have the book. And next up, so you about to get the 1-2 punch because we just hit you with the John Guydon. Now we got co-founder of Sports One Marketing and top business coach, former CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports, David Meltzer. And he is going to bring the heat. And so you guys want to tune in for that. And we'll see you again for that stream. All the information's everywhere where you're watching. And that's it, man. Any last words to say to the people?
Thanks for having me. And, really the last words for the people is you are the most important ingredient in your story. So make sure you have it right.
That's right. All right, y'all. Peace.